This is the art of plenty. I am excited to share our Christmas theme this year. Now, we don't normally have Christmas themes in our family, so this is a little bit unusual. But my son, my youngest, came up to me the other day and he said, "Mom, what is our theme for Christmas?" And I got to tell you, I have been overloaded lately and not necessarily in the best headspace. And because of that, I wasn't really paying attention to what he was saying. I wasn't really drawing in to what he was asking me. And so I blurted out, "Our theme is connection." And so then I walked away and he walked away and there was nothing more to the conversation. But then he comes back to me a little while later and says, "How do we put connection on the tree?" And he's been mulling this over and has a bunch of ideas for how we're going to put connection on our Christmas tree. Because here's what he was really asking me about. What is the theme for our Christmas tree? You see, ever since my oldest daughter had her first Christmas, we have done a different themed Christmas tree. The very first year, we covered the Christmas tree. So she was 9 months, and we covered the Christmas tree in teddy bears. My mother-in-law had an incredible teddy bear collection from when she worked in a school district. So I borrowed all of her Christmas bears and regular bears and every teddy bear that you can imagine. And we covered the entire tree with bears. And my little 9-month-old absolutely loved it because she would just say the word bear. It was one of her first words, and she would point at them and take them off the tree. And it's a very soft tree and you don't have to worry about anything breaking. And I didn't have to spend any money on it because I could just borrow all the bears. So that began this tradition that our family has of doing different types of Christmas trees. Over the years, we've done all sorts of themes. One year we covered it in porcelain dolls because I had a porcelain doll collection when I was a little girl. That was the gift my grandmother bought me every Christmas, was a porcelain doll. And my parents put them in a box and saved them. So I had them, and I borrowed a few other porcelain dolls and we wired them all onto the Christmas tree. That was when my daughter was young. We've done Playmobil. So I took the kids' Playmobil toys and I put them all over the tree. We've done Star Wars. We've done Toy Story. Basically anything that you can think of, we have done. Even single socks. That was one kid's idea. That was a few years ago. And we covered the tree in single socks. It was the ugliest Christmas tree I have ever seen. But kids are weird and kids are creative. And I kind of think if they have a weird creative idea, if you can embrace it and go for it, do it. Because every time their creations and their ideas get realized, it gives them confidence to pursue their creative ventures. And even if they never work in a creative field, we use creativity in absolutely every field. And the more we can foster that and nurture it, the better off our kids can be. At least that's my perspective, and that's the way I try to raise our kids. So yeah, one year we covered our tree in single socks. And honestly, it stands out to me more than all of the other Christmas trees because it was so bizarre and bogus. So when my son was asking me, what's the theme for Christmas, he was wondering, what's the decision about the Christmas tree? Because typically in our house, we have a conversation as a family and we talk about it and people put ideas forward and we all kind of discuss it. And then I usually make a decision, or my husband and I make a decision. Sometimes it's a vote, but as a decision gets made. So when he was asking me, what's the theme? I was under the impression that he was just talking about the month. What is our focus this month? And I wasn't really listening, or I would have clued in that he was asking, what are we thinking for the Christmas tree? Because we don't do a theme anywhere else in our life. No, just the tree. But I said connection, not really thinking. And when it came back to the conversation again, where he's asking me, how do we put connection on the Christmas tree? Because we've already done a photo tree. That was a beautiful tree. I love that one. That was an idea that my sister-in-law had. And it was actually in COVID. And we covered the entire tree with photographs of all the people that we loved. And we put them in paper frames and we hung them all around the tree. And then I had, you know how you can buy, or you've seen single words? They were kind of huge in decor around here for a long time. So I had this word that said family, and we put that on the top of the tree. So he says to me, well, we've already done the photo tree, so we're not going to really be showing pictures up. So how do we show connection on a tree? And I have no idea, but he's working it through now. And now I haven't actually told him that that's not what I was meaning. But what I realized when I said that piece to him, that I want this to be about connection, I feel in my heart lately that I just want to be close and spend time with the people that I love and not have a lot of strife. I just want to feel loved and show love. And it's not that that's not a normal case for us. I feel very loved by my family and I feel very loving toward my family. But one of the things that comes up for me and for my husband, Jody, and we're way better now, but Christmas is one of our perpetual issues. And what I mean by perpetual issue, so in relationships, according to the Gottman research, is that couples have problems that aren't really reconcilable. There is a conflict, something that you fight about, and there isn't really a resolution to it. There's not really a solution. So the research that he's done suggests that 69% of the conflict or the problems that couples are facing are these perpetual problems. There's no real resolution, and they just come up over and over again over the course of the relationship. And one of my favorite quotes by Gottman is that when you choose your partner for life, you're choosing what you're going to fight about for the rest of your life. Hysterical, right? And one of the things that is my perpetual issue with my husband is Christmas. Now, because we've done a lot of work on our relationship, and because I'm a couples therapist, we have gotten to the bottom of this issue. We know why it's a perpetual issue for us, and we know what the fight is actually about. Because underneath the fight, underneath the conflict, underneath the discussion, there are some pretty significant personal values that are coming into play that really have nothing to do with Christmas per se, but it's about a way of being. And this is a place where Jody and I are not totally aligned, even though we have some very similar values and share many values. So consequently, Christmas is a time that we are more likely to fight. So, for example, when we were younger and when we were earlier in our relationship, around Christmas time, it would just be more tense. I would be tense and I would kind of lash out about things. And I was lashing out about things that weren't really why I was upset. So here's the core piece. Our families are extremely different and we all live in the same community. So my parents are here, his parents are here, we're here, siblings are here, and we both really love our family and we both really love each other's families and we're close. Here's the big difference. My family does not plan any Christmas activities until later. And if I suggest or talk to one of my brothers or talk to my parents about Christmas plans, their response is usually, we don't know, I'm not sure, we don't know what we're doing. we're not committing to anything right now. And that's the case usually until very close to Christmas. It's a little bit different now because my brothers are married and their wives have places that they want to be or plans that they want to have. So sometimes they will know parts of what they're doing because they'll commit to their partner's family. Now, my husband's family is very organized and they plan what they're doing for Christmas, usually around Thanksgiving. So for us in Canada, that's getting decided mid-October, early October. And I would feel when we were first married and when we first had kids, I always felt like we were never going to be able to see my family because my family wasn't organized or planning anything. And then there was a lot of pressure because we hadn't necessarily conveyed to my husband's family what we were doing. And so then that would create pressure because they would want us to commit. And I understand why they wanted us to commit, but I felt like if we committed, then it would mean that we wouldn't get to see my family. And my husband felt like, well, we need to commit to them because it's not fair. And if we're only going to see them if we're not seeing yours, then it's kind of like my family is second place to your family, which wasn't really how it was, but it ended up coming across and getting read that way because we really weren't able to articulate what was going on or why it was so upsetting for us. Why it was so and mostly when I say why it was so upsetting for us, it was mostly upsetting for me. But over the years, because Christmas comes every year, we get an opportunity to have this discussion, this fight every year. It's not really a fight anymore because we've been able to unpack why it matters and come to some type of agreement on how we're moving forward. And consequently, it means that there are some years where for several years in a row, we'll spend time with my husband's family and not mine. And then the odd time, my family will get organized. And usually if my family's getting organized, it's because I've put feelers out early in the year and said, hey, we want to do this. Do people want to meet us and have this Christmas time together, whether it's dinner or breakfast? And I'll put that out there early and then have to kind of live with not knowing if they're going to come until really close to the day because people don't usually commit in my family, which is sometimes hard for me because I really want to be with them. And we've just learned, my husband and I, over the last 20 years, we've just learned to take care of one another's feelings because family really does matter to both of us. And we have figured out a way to give the other person grace to kind of go, more so me. Jody gives me grace to kind of feel disappointed or upset that maybe things aren't coming together the way that I've wanted. And I'm trying to be more deliberate in making our plans early so that it is less stressful for my husband so that he can commit to his family because it really matters to them for us to commit early. So that's one of the ways that we've been able to enjoy our Christmases is to talk about it. But it took quite a few years and we didn't even realize what was going on because I had no idea what perpetual issues even were in a relationship. And fortunately for us, it only comes up once a year. So we don't have that fight on a regular basis, which is the case for a lot of couples with their perpetual issues, is that they come up on more than one occasion. They just keep recycling the same argument or the same discussion. And it often has to do with what's underneath that. And if you can peel back the layers and get to the core about what the fight is about, oftentimes there's actually a lot of alignment. And what I mean by that is when we pull this back, Jody and I have very similar values around our family and wanting to spend time with them and honor them. So that's a shared value, but ends up looking a lot different in the fight about Christmas when he wants to commit to something and I don't really want to commit because I really do want to see my family. That is tricky work. If you do not know what it is that's underneath the perpetual issues, it can be really tricky to get to the bottom of it. But I love even just knowing that that is what's going on, because so much healing and opportunity for change can simply come from the awareness of what it actually is, that you're not trying to get to compromise. You're not trying to get to some type of resolution about the issue. You're using the conflict as an opportunity to get closer. And I think that's one of my favorite things when I think about couples and working as a therapist is, how do we use this point of contention? How do we use this conflict to become a moment of connection rather than a wedge that creates or pushes us towards greater disconnection? Because that's what the relationship is about, right? It's about connection. It's about being together. And I think that my heart is yearning for that this year. My heart is yearning for a season of connection. And I think it is exacerbated or highlighted for me because my family feels very disconnected right now. We have been busy. They have been busy doing so many activities. And this season just gets punched with even more activity because of the choirs and the concerts and all of the wonderful festivity things that we get to do. I'm hoping that I can settle into it enough that we actually get to connect. I would love all of my fellow moms and wives out there. I would love to hear how it is that you are staying connected and staying present this season with your family. If you have any tricks, send me a DM, because I need help in this too, because there's so much going on and there's so much pressure that we can miss out on the parts that are really important. So I would love to hear your strategies so that you can stay focused this season. Thanks so much for tuning in. Chat with you soon. This is The Art of Plenty. I'm Amy McInnes.